Understanding the Malignant Narcissist. And once again, your beautiful base here for the church. Malignant Narcissist is the emotionally stunted. Chronic self-absorbed, so preoccupied behavior. They think of themselves first, limited or complete lack of empathy, lack of guilt or remorse, disregard for your well-being, safety, and those you love. They do what feels best. They do not learn from past mistakes. They can continue to repeat behaviors that have negative consequences, lack of self-reflection, inability to take your perspective, stand in your shoes. History of conflict and drama in relationships. History of denying reality due to effective realism. Reality is what it feels like versus what it is. History of distorting reality, making up new narratives about the situation to deal with it. History of impulsive behaviors, more feeling than thinking, so they do what feels best. Enmeshment in relationships instead of emotional intimacy, may focus on physical things versus emotional. They do not do emotional work. They do not know how to repair relationships effectively. That mixed with tetraled brain, which is anxiety, antisocial personality disorder, addiction, and psychopathy. Now, the Malignant Narcissist has its own little fucking things, its fears, its ultimate fears is exposure, you finding out they're garbage, because everything is a virtue signal. Even at this church, like they say, morals are pointless, but then they virtue signal. And that's the shit that kills me, because you're just evil. Okay? Narcissistic mortification, a term conjoined with psychologist Mary Libby, refers to the fear and pain experienced in narcissists when they confronted with the discrepancy between their ideal self and the contrasting reality. These people fight with reality. They don't live in our world. They live in a made-up world, and that's why popping LSD is important. That's what enables them to live in that made-up world. They hate reality, the same way they hate America. Fear of being found out. Narcissists live in a constant state of fear, being possessed as a flawed and inadequate, which can trigger shame and rage. They live in a constant state of fear and paranoia because they're afraid you're going to find out they're fake. Okay? Because they are fake. The shame rage spiral. I've witnessed Stu do this one. To avoid feeling ashamed, narcissists may use various defenses, including blame, denial, projection, which can further harm those around them. Yes. They will not be held to account because what's important is how something looks. Not the nature of the thing, but how something looks. How they appear in public. What they appear to be. Think about Jose, this church's founder, and how he was just a pedophilic, evil son of a bitch that murdered people and poisoned people to get what he wanted, and then everybody just kept worshiping him, no matter what. He was just a disgusting human being, okay? The narcissistic rage, I think this is the rage spiral. And this is the outrage of them being found out. To avoid feelings of shame, narcissists may use various defense mechanisms, including blaming, denial, projection, which can further those around. Okay, narcissistic rage. When their carefully constructed image is threatened, narcissists are prone to lashing out in an attempt to eliminate the perceived threat. A response often described as the humiliated fury. Yes. Instead of, when you feel humiliation, it's embarrassment. Nobody really likes to be embarrassed, but it's your body letting you know you messed up. Or it's you discovering that you have vulnerabilities, okay? And I think as soon as you just admit that you have vulnerabilities, the faster you can get over that shit, but not with a narcissist. They gotta appear perfect, and when they fail, what comes out is just ceaseless rage spiral, and then they just over and over in their head. This is insanity. They go over and over the humiliation again and again in their head, and they build it into something it's not, okay? Let's say you get pantsed in front of everybody, you're humiliated, and then you get over it. It happened to me when I was growing up. Okay, I got pantsed in front of a bunch of campers by my cousin, and I was humiliated, and then I pulled my pants up, and then probably about 3 days later, I was over it. Narcissists don't see it that way. They grind that in their head again and again and make that event into something it's not. My cousin was being a dick. Okay, people do that. External validations. External validations is important because, once again, it is the unconditional love they didn't get as a child. The guy that funded this church literally wanted to replace Jesus, okay? And he wanted the unconditional love Jesus got. That was his whole thing, and that is what every church leader is. They all want all the love they didn't get from their parents, okay? Narcissists rely heavily on external validations to maintain their fragile self-esteem, making them vulnerable to shame when they fail to receive the attention and admiration they crave. If you don't like me, I hate you because I deserve to be liked. Yes, everybody kind of deserves to be liked, but that's not how the world works. Trust me, there's a lot of people out there that don't like me. Narcissistic collapse. In extreme cases, the fear and shame and humiliation can lead to narcissistic collapse, where they stop functioning and may even attempt suicide to avoid being exposed as flawed. This is why you shouldn't be trying to be a superior being. Because man is flawed, and a narcissist can't handle reality. Reality is terrifying for these people. Narcissistic mortification is an intense fear associated with narcissistic injury and humiliation. The shocking reaction when individuals face the discrepancy between the endorsed idea view of the self and the drastic contrast and realization. There's a song by Melody Martinez called Doll Faces, and it's a song about abuse and having a horrible family, and how you learn how to put on a mask to pretend like the abuse isn't happening. This is a trauma response. The truth is bad things are happening, and you'd be better off telling people. Okay? Not members in your church, mind you, because they're going to say it's normal. One of the funnier moments I had at Papa John's with these guys that were watching me because I'm under contract is they all, being church members, first started with getting raped as a kid, which traumatized them and made them emotionally stunted. And then they expressed to me, that's normal. That's normal in your church. That's not normal in the outside world. Okay? Normal people, normal good people don't do that to kids. And then they expressed to me, raping babies is normal, but nobody talks about it. To which, it's not normal. It's not normal. And they had this, they thought they were being slick because they were playing off of one another. Dude, they train these people to love bomb, lie, and fake cry at this church. They're just the most hollow, empty, fake people you've ever met, and it's funny as shit because I'm just a genuine Bob. I don't know how to be anything else other than me. But these people, like, were trying to convince me, and this is the thing with them, it's that neat shit. The whole morals are pointless and all this other crap. And they're telling me, dude, I don't know how anybody falls for this, but they say cults are just really smart. These guys kept trying to normalize their weirdness, and I was just, stop, leave me alone. I was like, whatever, dudes, that's all you. Yeah. You're lead brain addicts, and you worship a guy that's completely fake. And I would argue, even the dissociative identity disorder, I would argue that the fake identity is the one you meet. That's the god. The guy, they're like, this is the good guy, and then I have the bad guy, but they're actually the bad guy. But I would even feed further into that to say that they have the super ego, which is in their forefront, and then they have the ego, which is the bad guy. And they themselves don't even know they exist. I wonder, because, dude, this is all Bobby Mask theory. They're fake. And even Stu, because Stu was like, I'm going to teach you how to be antisocial, lie, manipulate, and get all the things you want in life. And then I was like, no, thank you. That's all bad stuff. And I was like, and secondly, why would I trust you? You're the master of manipulation. You'll just manipulate me. It's your nature. And I go by things nature, and Stu got mad. He doesn't, once again, malignant narcissists hate rejection. If you reject them in any way, they're gonna have a problem with you. You're not allowed to do that. They don't deserve that. They're entitled. And dude, I don't. The persistent defective psychology of these people is something. I don't remember who this guy was when I was president. He was one of the malignant narcissists, and I guess some of them recognize on some level there is something wrong with them. Obviously, the church doesn't let them talk about it, because if you admit the superior psychology is not so superior, well, that's not good for the church. But he wanted an emotional support human. And I coined that term. He said he wanted a friend that wasn't a friend because the church leaders aren't allowed to have friends. Okay. And I was like, he needs an emotional... And I told him you could have an emotional support. And then they told me he's not allowed to have that. Because here's the truth. These guys are emotionally stunted. And when you have friends and you develop real connections, I think it has a way of killing psychopathy. I think it has a way of dampening that. And, you know, the tetra-lead brain makes you less feeling. It makes you less emotional, but you are reactionary. But you're psychopathic. Okay? I think the truth is about these creatures is they just desperately want to reach out and need help, but they don't want to connect with people because they're scared. And I would argue that that's where all the fear comes from, and even the paranoia. And I mean, these people get up to evil shit, straight up murdering people, murdering 6 kids and 7 women, plowing babe, doing all the worst things you can. Of course you're going to be terrified, and of course you're going to be murdering people because you don't want to be exposed for how disgusting you are. Okay? And the other side, the other thing I don't agree with is the lack of agency, but also Stu and get all these people. I'm not insecure, but then if you talk to their girls, they murder you. Okay? Like, that is the biggest insecurity you could ever witness in anybody. The other side is not admitting you're wrong. Anal eating mummy god called me when I was at Penang, and I remember he said, like, America existed on a gold standard, and I started laughing because we haven't been on a gold standard since Nixon. And I told him, you might be spending too much time out there in that temple. Especially if you think we're still on a gold standard, because Nixon nixed that a long time ago. And then I had every church member, because they can't admit their president is wrong, screaming at me, America exists on a gold standard. We don't, and we're not gonna. Gaddafi tried to do that, and the CIA murdered him because America doesn't have enough gold to back its greenbacks. The American dollar value comes from the general fact that the government accepts it as revenue. If the government stopped accepting the dollar, it would become valueless overnight. Useless information. We're talking about malignant narcissists, sorry. I could explain all this shit to you. Now, what I'm getting at here is when you understand the malignant narcissist, you need to understand everything is disciplinary. That is why they don't tell you how they feel. They just keep hurting you until you guess, okay? And this got really stupid with Blondie because he was doing this... Dude, they talk sideways, and that's just something I can't stand in anybody. And I would argue it's another reason why I hate these people at this church, is they can't speak plainly. And he was explaining to me the lead, the heavy metals don't hurt you. It's called heavy metal poisoning. Poisoning means you're being hurt. And then he was explaining to me he doesn't hurt people, but the heavy metals give him an advantage. I was like, you're poisoning people and you're hurting them. And he was like, no! And it's because he doesn't live in this reality, okay? Reality check, okay? This is reality. Okay, it doesn't matter how much LSD you pop, this is reality. It doesn't matter how much you distort it with your mind, this is reality, okay? I want to live in a world where I'm a god! Yeah. So, this was more of an informational bit. The humiliation spiral is the thing that fucking killed me when I was learning about it, because I didn't realize that's what Stu had. Is each time he failed, double down, anger, get back at you. Each time, double down, anger, get back at you. 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 And I was just like, you gotta be fucking ridiculous, dude. I guess here sometime soon I'm gonna try something really stupid to try to get into a court case. I realize, being terrified of going to prison is like being terrified of being born. Uh, Most experiences in life you really don't want. And it's definitely something I don't want for myself, but me going to prison might save some 300,000 people that are being human trafficked and women who are getting their brains eaten. That's just what has to happen. Anyways, back to me pointing out these insecure losers. I think a woman that doesn't have a tetra-lead brain, a woman that doesn't have brain damage, can actually see a malignant narcissist for what they are. Okay, I believe a person that's not emotionally stunted can see them for what they are. That's why they immediately poison you with lead and emotionally stunt and rape you, because it messes up your perception. And suddenly they don't seem so bad when they're pure fucking evil. I remember my cuddle buddy fake crying when we got into an argument one time, and I kind of slowed down, but now I remember Stu doing it, and remember Blondie doing it, and I just realized, like, I really should have just punched him in the mouth. And like I said, the fear of exposure. Stop doing things that are against your values. If you're against fucking murdering and killing kids, don't do that. If you're against raping babies, don't do that. Like, and I guess maybe these guys are under the threat of death by their own church, but maybe as a malignant narcissist and later, you need to evaluate your powers and your structures, and then deliberately work in a way that does destroy your church. Slowly. Okay? Let it erode away the fabrics. I don't know, like... But I mean, you gotta be a master case to tell people suffering's good for them. Come join our church where you'll be miserable, but you'll be immiserated with everybody else. That's an enmeshment, by the way. If you're just sharing misery, that's an enmeshment, okay? Remember when I was out in the desert, I broke down and cried, and the wives came over, and they all started fake crying with me, and they're like, we're sharing your... I was like, get the fuck away from me with your midsummer bullshit. I was like, you guys are fucking weird. These are my emotions. I'll be feeling them and processing them and getting over them myself the way I've done since I was like 8. Okay? And they were like, oh, and they walked off. And I was like, but that's an enmeshment, okay? That's not normal. Normal people don't do that. When somebody's crying, you usually have the emotional support human doing the emotion. Hey, buddy, you okay? You want some tacos? They don't go, well, I'm going to fake cry with you and show you how valueless your emotions are. And once again, my emotions come from a higher power because I'm a god. Like, great. Wonderful. This is the problem with religion. These people, my brother says it about my dad all the time because he is a narcissist, and it is just a general fact. They are at war with reality, and the whole goal is to slowly manipulate you into believing their bullshit. One of the things I remember that came from Stu is he's like, we're the modern church. We're the blah, blah, blah. But then as you get up the scales, you get into demonic shit, murdering people, capturing souls, and fucking... giant rooms with crystals in them. Yeah. And then when you get further than that, you get into dropping as many drugs and LSD, and then you get medieval with the top part, and still remember this as presidency. The master has to have sex with every age of woman to make sure the sun goes around the planet. Blondie came to Papa John's and literally said that. No shame, in front of the entire staff. The president has to have sex with every age, and they mean every age of woman since being a baby forward. Okay? Every girl lined up to make the sun go around the earth. If your religion is that backwards, if you believe that as a statement or a sentence that the sun goes around the earth, you are a baboon. Okay? There is no helping you once you reach that point. And there's no telling what other ridiculous nonsense that comes up with this shit. Like, nothing about plowing women alters reality, okay? I mean, it feels great maybe your first time around when you have the sex, alright? But nothing about continuously having sex alters reality, okay? I don't think there's anything really worthy of note here. They're external validations, and external validations lead to an empty, hollow life, because it is all trying to maintain that, and you'll just find fear trying to maintain it. Let it go and learn to love yourself. Okay.